Hello. Today we have with us Attila Ledényi, who is the founder of Art Market Budapest, and we take the occasion to ask him a couple of questions. And first of all, I'm going to ask you, Attila, how would you describe the contemporary art world or the art scene in Budapest and the region now?
We have a very specific perspective of looking at art and art content coming from Eastern Europe, which is what our region is. Art Market Budapest being the leading international contemporary art fair in Central and Eastern Europe, and year by year we see the Eastern European component as a part of a bigger structure because we usually have over 30 countries represented every year at the fair. And in that sense, interestingly, art in Eastern Europe remains underrepresented internationally, which makes it an emerging source of art that hasn't been recognized and appreciated yet. So we saw art coming from Eastern Europe is exactly in line with our approach to how to become internationally interesting, because the art that comes from our region is very inspirational, partly because of the lack of introduction. So in that sense, and we feel it in the on the international market increasingly over the past years. I would say 3 or 4 years. Um, there is a new wave of recognition of art coming from the post-communist countries for a good reason. Partly the neo-avant-garde tendencies of the 60s, 70s, sort of the age of arte povera, by the way. And this is it's funny to see what happened here with Pistoletto's works at the time of our neo-avant-garde tendencies beyond the Iron Curtain. And the funny thing is that what we see here is not just the differences but also the similarities. So in that sense, going back to your question, the we consider art coming from Eastern Europe as a new inspiration on the global market, and this is why we decided at Art Market Budapest to concentrate on emerging sources of artistic content, because we don't want to be just one of the mainstream art fairs, but we would rather be an experimental component of the international art scene by bringing in content that has not yet been represented before.
Thanks a lot. Another thing I would like to ask you is we've been talking a couple of hours this morning on sharing experiences and perhaps perspectives of working together. But we put on the table a few lines of possible operations and concerns that perhaps can show that there are similarities between your organization being at the same time very different and our again. Which ones would you uh, point out as the most striking or meaningful for you after knowing better about Cittadellarte and meeting Michelangelo this morning and myself?
Well, having talked with Michelangelo himself, obviously we know a lot about his body of work, but we obviously know a little less on his very individual approach to certain things that are interesting for all of us. So it was kind of striking to hear and experience how much overlapping there is between his artistic uh, um, approach to our professional approach to presenting art. Um, it sounds complicated, but let me just give you an example of what really struck me. Um, it seems that one of the key elements of his work and the way he operates and the thoughts he's driven by is that he says that art becomes art if it's available to its audiences, which is, it's a very important thing to say. And this is what we keep saying, although we're coming from a very different kind of background. And what we experience all the time is that many of our institutions, museums, galleries, they fail to follow that kind of philosophy, to be open to the widest possible public. So a definition of art that says that art is art if it becomes available to the public, it's a very important statement to make, which is in the very core of what we do and what we think. So that, for example, was one, very striking experience, talking with Michelangelo. The other thing is the way he approaches the area of areas usually alien to the art community, like the word of the commercial world and economy, for example, and how he incorporates economy, for example, in the whole creative artistic process, making it a contributor to art rather than the enemy of art. So these are things that we say all the time, but it's hard. It's actually great to hear it from the mouth of a master like Michelangelo.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to understanding if and how we can develop together some more chapters of our exploration of a more democratic world together. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Grazie.